Hello everyone, Kurt Holfeder here, and welcome back to another episode from Holfeder Labs. Today we're continuing on with the lines of the Segno, and we're going to be looking at three of Fiore's concepts when it comes to footwork. But he talks about it in the sword section. However, I think it is something that is a universal piece throughout all of his works of his works. We're talking about the volta stabile, which is a stable turn, which allows us to play forward and back on one side, and we're going to be going to the Segno here in a minute to kind of talk about that. Then we're going to talk about the mezzovolta, which is a turn which essentially I see as a combining passare and tonare along with the stable turn to create a movement that lets us play on both sides, but we pass forward, so we play on one side, and we come back and we play on the other side. The final one we're going to be talking about is the tutta volta, which is the total turn, which is essentially makes us go around. We find a pivot point where our foot comes into a single spot and spins in rotation. So with that being the case, let's get into it. So once again, we have the Segno taped out on the ground here. And I went with a little bit thinner tape here just so we can kind of see, hopefully, because I think the big tape may send a different message. I like get the stuff on the other side, but these are just lines in which we traverse on, okay? So like I said in the video, we're gonna be talking about the three turns of the foot today. And the three turns of the foot that Fiore talks about is the volta stabile, which is your stable turn, your mezzovolta, and then your tutta volta. So one of the big things in playing with this right here, I can play automatically with, if I'm standing here on the side right here where I'm set up, I don't think that half on one side or the other is necessarily going to be like divided on one side here. I think because of this is all about angulation. So with that being the case there, this line right here that comes down essentially would be the line in which if I turn this way or turn this way, you'll notice that I'm turning along this line right here where it becomes, this is my focus point. So this right here becomes a half point of everything in front of me when you talk about the stable turn. Whether I switch my feet forward, in this case right here, and I do the same type of a thing, I turn, it's, again, if I'm going to put my hand straight out, of course it's in front of me this way, but I'm allowed to come over and come back. And this kind of over space right here is very important to talk about when we start looking at the turns of the sword. For mezzovolta, so mezzovolta, in this case right here, I start off with, once again in my elephant stance, I'm going to have my volta stabile turn, I turn, and eventually what ends up happening is I get too far over, this foot here turns too much, and I want to go over, and then I have to use passare to pass forward onto this plane. And we'll notice here that we're still utilizing this angle, okay? We're going to talk later on about how we can utilize this angle as well as this angle here for approach and what I think that those all mean, but that'll be a later video. So again, remember mezzovolta is just incorporating volta stabile and passare or tonare when the stable turn has gone beyond that halfway point, and then we apply a turn. And remember, mezzovolta is to play on two sides. Volta stabile to play on one side, forward and back, and mezzovolta is to play on two sides, forward and back. So, mezzovolta right here, I've gone too far right here, it's gone all the way open, my foot starts to open up this way, and I allow myself to pass into this place using passare, and I am now playing on this side of the line. Big thing about this is something that is a Kurtism. However, I think this anatomically makes sense. If you notice what's right here, I have my structure, and this foot is angled off slightly, and this one's relatively straightforward towards my target. When I turn back this way and I turn open, there's a point where this foot is angled, and when I pass forward, this foot is now straight. So we're almost just setting ourselves into this position to pass forward into that state in a front manner or in a back manner. It's the same thing when we go backwards with this. So here I'm utilizing, I'm going to put myself right here, so as I come back, it's the same thing. I want to go backwards with this, turns over, and then I just fall back into it. In this case, because I'm going backwards, my foot's angled, and I step to this front foot here. I'm just using tonare, once again, to get back to the other side. The final one of this is tutta volta. And tutta volta here, once again, is a total turn. So essentially in this right here, for anyone that's played basketball, it's the same thing as far as pivoting goes. And I've had other videos about this right here, about the basics of it all. But again, I'm using the Segno right here. Then this is how I kind of see that I'm playing full circle. So I place myself back into this position, and once again, I'm going to utilize mezza volta and volta stabile, as well as passare and tornare, to create a full motion. So in this case right here, I come forward, I've turned, I'm going to pivot, right? So my foot's right here, I pivot, and now I'm facing the other direction. I can go the other way as well. So coming backwards, step. One more time going backwards. Volta stabile, turn, and utilizing tornare to return back into that structure. That goes forward and backwards, like I said. And again, you can tell how I'm coming along this line right here. And that line is now behind me. And it works on both sides of the line right here. Again, mapping this right here helps me be able to see where am I actually going to be going as far as flight trajectory, because all these later on, as we'll find out in upcoming videos, these all play a part as far as how we angle different attacks and lines inward towards an opponent. So once again, you can see how using the Segno really kind of helps out map what direction we're going to and how is our total turn and movement going towards. And again, it doesn't take much to kind of practice this. By making sure that we, again, have our basis of structure and posture, we allow ourselves to be able to project, turn, move, and accompany things with basic footwork to allow for greater emotions in different directions. Again, like I've said several times here, we're going to be talking about why this is so important, why I think these lines are right here, and why I think that, reflecting upon the Segno, once you have a basis of all the concepts that Fury is talking about, which is, that's a lifelong journey. Once you get to that point of like, okay, I see where this is right here, then you can start seeing how this message of the Segno really is encapsulating the basic foundations of all of this art and not just cut lines. And how you can combine the Segno to start speaking on how you create different lines of effect. So, like I said, that's going to conclude the video here. Like and subscribe, share with a friend. Thank you so much for the support out there. Keep stepping in 2023, and I hope these videos are helping you with your practice out there. And as always, everyone, until I see you again, stay safe, train well, and fight on.